What's up, guys? Welcome back. My name is Nick Loza, and here is a full in-depth tutorial on how to build your own bioactive vivarium. Now, this past year, as a part of my independent study project, I was able to partner with my local nature center, Robbins Park, to create a bioactive vivarium for their leopard gecko. Now, you might be wondering, why should I go bioactive? And more importantly, what is a bioactive vivarium? Well, it essentially is a reptile tank that mimics a ecosystem. It's like a mini ecosystem inside the tank. So you have a drainage layer that acts as the aquifer. You have real soil. You have little bugs in the soil that are the decomposers, getting rid of the decaying matter and reptile waste. And then you have live plants that really brighten things up. Now, why should you go bioactive? Well, first off, it just looks really rad and just awesome. But more importantly, it provides a more enriching and stimulating environment for the reptile, and it's more natural, providing them just with a better, quality of life. Additionally, it is essentially self-sustaining, which means less work for you, the keeper. But personally, I just think they look awesome. Now, I'm going to be taking you step by step through the entire journey. Let's get started.
Hi everyone, so right now we have our tank. It's a 40-gallon breeder, 36 by 18 by 18. We have our doors propped open with some insulation foam just to make sure that the doors don't snap off during this process. We took wax paper, taped it using masking tape along the sides. This is to protect our sides so we don't get silicone and foam on it, so that whatever the reason, if we ever choose to remove the background, that can be done easily and effectively. So we took our Great Stuff Pond and Stone expanding foam and we created this foam background, the black foam background, on top of a piece of insulation foam. What we did with the expanding foam is we secured in these two awesome pieces of wood along with some foam ledges that I made out of this pink insulation foam. So after all that expanding foam dried, I took my razor blade. I got my handy dandy tools over here. A kitchen knife actually worked surprisingly well, but I took a variety of sharp tools and I carved away at the expanding foam, because initially when you pump out that foam, it expands and it has a nice glossy shine to it. The outer layer is nice and glossy, but silicone and dirt doesn't stick too well to that. So we carved all that away, so now we have a matte foam looking stuff. So what we're doing now is we're covering it with silicone. It's aquarium safe silicone, or you can use 100% silicone, and we're coating it with silicone and then putting on a layer of cocoa fiber. So we're gonna wait about a day for it to dry. We're gonna leave it on its back for a day, and then we're going to prop the tank up, shake off any excess dirt, and see what needs to be touched up. Whatever needs to be touched up, we're going to add some more silicone and some more dirt until we have it to our liking. So here we got our aquarium safe silicone. Then we have some cocoa fiber. Cocoa fiber is just this mix I bought at PetSmart. You want to make sure that your soil, whatever you're using on the background, is bone dry, because if it's not bone dry, it won't stick that well to the silicone and your background won't look good. So now we're going to pump our silicone onto the desired area, spread it all out just using your hands, wear a pair of gloves, spread out using your fingers. This is the best method I found, and I've seen a lot of people do this online, because using a brush just doesn't work all that well, so you can just use your fingers. So what we're going to do now is pump out our silicone, get a nice hefty layer on there. I'm going to do this entire ledge and this entire area. All right. So now that we got our silicone, I'm going to lay down the caulk gun. Try not to drip it. Hey guys, so it's now been 24 hours after I originally put all the dirt on, and there were some bald spots where dirt just didn't stick. So what I did is I took my tank, I flipped it upright so that all the excess dirt would fall off, and I used just a dry paintbrush to wipe off any excess dirt to really give me a good idea of where the dirt did stick and where it did not stick. So after seeing where the bald spots are, I laid the tank back on its back, and I'm just filling in those bald spots with some more silicone and dirt. Now, for a tank that's this big, this is a 36 by 18 by 18, I went through about exactly 2 tubes of aquarium safe silicone. The tubes are about, I think, 10 ounces each, and that was enough to finish the entire background and touch up any bald spots. Although, to play it safe, you might want to get 3 tubes because this was just exactly 2 tubes. And now I'm going to wait another day for this round 2 of silicone and dirt to dry. I'm going to do the same process tomorrow. I'm going to put the tank upright, shake off any excess dirt, and if there's more bald spots, I'm going to go in with a new tube of silicone and dirt and fix up those bald spots. And then this is the last step, so after you're done filling in everything with dirt and silicone, your background is now completed, so you can clean up all the excess dirt and get to building the substrate layer of your tank. Put in all your plants, all your hardscape, etc. Let's do it. Alright, so today's June 22nd. We've let the tank sit out for about a week. Let that vinegar smell from the silicone wear off. I took some paintbrushes, dry paintbrushes, dusted off all the excess dirt. You don't want to press too hard because then you're just rubbing off the dirt you stuck there in the first place. But yeah, so now we reattached the top screen mesh lids, and we're about to transport it to Robbins Park now. So we're going to put it in its final resting location, and then I'm going to come in next week and actually complete the build. Here we go.
Alright guys, so step 2 is you gotta prep your plants. Now, what you want to do is unpot your plants and essentially give them a little bath to get rid of any little pests or bugs that might be on them from wherever you got them from. I got mine from just a garden center, so I wanted to give them a little bath to make sure I'm not bringing any bugs, any harmful little pests into my tank. So I just had a little bowl of soapy water, just some gentle dish soap, and then I had a clean bowl to rinse them off in afterwards. So what you can do to help with unpotting them and getting the soil away from the roots is just soaking that root base in some water. That'll help break down the soil without damaging the roots. Real quick, I just want to emphasize, pick plants that will thrive in your new environment. For instance, I was building a bioactive vivarium for a leopard gecko, so it's a very arid, hot environment. So I picked plants that can survive the slightly hot temps and dryness of the environment. Some plants I picked include a Haworthia fasciata, an Aloe vera barbadensis, an Aeonium kiwi hybrid, a Carex comans Amazon mist, a spaghetti agave, 2 echeveria, one being Pearl of Hamburg, and a tiger's jaw plant.
We got an aloe vera plant, heat tolerant. It needs bright light, which we're gonna have in the tank, so it's perfect for the tank. So just gonna squeeze around the pot to loosen it up. All right, got the plant. I'm just gonna soak it for a little bit. I'll get some dirt off. Right now we got some more clay balls, and I'm just draining them because they are very dusty and you don't really want that dust in the tank, so just rinsing them off, and we're going to place them in the tank. Hydro balls, we got a good layer, a solid layer, about like 1 to 2 inches. We evened them out, dried them off, and now we're going to put in our protective mesh. So this will separate the drainage layer from the substrate layer to make sure that the drainage layer doesn't get all dirty. got our big bag of Terra Sahara. This is gonna be our substrate. Now we're gonna put the substrate in. All right, so we got our substrate in. That was one heavy bag of dirt. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our, I don't know, I'll call them our mix-ins. We have some sphagnum moss, a bag of palm fronds, and we have our Bioshot. So we're gonna take all this, put it in the tank, and mix it all up. This will create a great mixture, a great substrate layer for the microfauna, like the springtails and isopods, to reproduce, and they'll be able to feed off of this stuff. And this stuff, the Bioshot, is awesome. It jump starts the whole tank. It introduces a bunch of good like beneficial microbacteria and organisms and fungi that'll really help this ecosystem get started. So now we're just adding some water, and we're gonna let this soak for a little bit. Let the sphagnum moss soak up all that water, get nice and soft and fluffy. Let it decompress. Now we're gonna mix this into the dirt, and you want to put more sphagnum on your hot side because it's gonna be more humid. It's where your humid hide is probably gonna be, and you're gonna want it to be, more moist there. So you're gonna put a little bit more sphagnum on the warm side than you are the cool side. Put in our Bioshot, and we're gonna put in our palm fronds and our sphagnum moss and mix it all up. So here's what Bioshot looks like if you don't know. Just like a powder. You're gonna take it, you're gonna sprinkle it all over. So I'm just gonna take it, mix it all over. You're gonna mix this all up anyways. Try to get a little bit of it everywhere. So this really helps jumpstart this. Get some bacteria, like good stuff. Sorry. All right, so we got that in there. Now we're going to take our palm fronds. BioDude has great products. It's where I get a lot of the stuff from. Great stuff for bioactive enclosures. These are just some palm fronds. Now we're just gonna take some and lay them out in the tank. So
you don't need to cut them up.
These will create deep pockets within the substrate for the springtails and the isopods. Probably not gonna use the whole bag. Just get a bunch of them in there, and we'll mix them all up. Just playing it by ear. Start off with that, and then we got our sphagnum moss. So it's nice and moist. It's not dripping wet, but it's nice and rehydrated, nice and moist. So we're just gonna put some sphagnum moss in these different areas. Now, you got to decide where you want your hot side to be, where you want your warm side to be. Now, I think, I'm not exactly sure which side I'm going to put my hot side on, but I'm going to put more sphagnum on the warm side. So I'm just going to lay out a little bit out for now, and then I'll decide where I want the warm side to be. That could work. I was thinking about putting it over here.
Okay,
there's
then
more
do it here.
space for basking and rocks.
That's perfect because there's a electrical connection.
So I'm going to put a little bit more sphagnum over on this side. And now what we're going to do is mix this all up. Give it a real nice and good mixing. Now you're going to get a bit dirty, but that's all right. You really want to get palm fronds nice and deep into the soil.
One good
Now this
mix.
is an arid tank, so you don't want an insane amount of sphagnum, and it also depends on where you live. I mean, here we're in PA, so it's not super humid, but if you live somewhere like Florida, it's naturally more humid there, so you won't need nearly as much sphagnum.
So the point of sphagnum is
to just create these nice humid pockets for the isopods. You do want to create these humid pockets for the plants, so the plant's roots can get some moisture, and also for the isopods and the springtails. So now we're just gonna give this a good mixing. The warm side is going to be where your basking spot is. It's going to be where the heat lamp is, and you're also going to want your humid hide closer to the warm side than the cool side. Now you want to offer optimally 3 hides if possible, one on the warm side, one on the cool side, and a humid hide that is, it can be in the middle, but a little bit more towards the warm side than the cool side. All right, so we got our drainage layer, our barrier, put in all our dirt, all the palm fronds, this sphagnum moss, Bioshot, and now it's just time to put in the hardscape and decorate it. So we got hide on the cool end. It's just a piece of wood that we dug into the soil to make a nice little natural cave form. We got a hide on the warm end with basking spot. We just put some other rocks around. We got some wood that looks really nice and cool. Yeah, so now is your chance to just have fun and play around and see what looks cool. And then we're gonna put in all of our live plants. Our hardscape in. Now we're just gonna put in our live plants. I can go back there. Or this could go here, that could go back there. When you're putting the plants in, you want to think about the care requirements for all the plants and take that into mind when you're actually planting them. So where the plants that are near the basking spot, they should be able to endure higher heats. And yeah, you also want to make sure that there's room for the plants to grow. So now we're just going to plant them.
Okay, let's see them moving.
All right, so all we're going to do is we're just going to take this isopod culture and dump them in. There we go. Still have a lot of hiding spots back there.
So what is the purpose of these bugs?
Spread out the soil. So they're going to clean up his poop. They're going to eat away at any dead plant matter, any decomposing stuff. They're the decomposers, basically.
The cleanup crew.
The cleanup crew, exactly.
Okay, so those were the what?
Those were the powder orange isopods, and hopefully they'll spread out around a tank. You can probably even put more in. So it'll just take a longer amount of time for these guys to reproduce. Since it's a smaller colony, it's a big tank, and I only put around 25 of them in there. But now we got our springtails. So these guys are really tiny, so it's probably gonna be like really hard to see on camera, but they're just like tiny little white specks. You just want to put the isopods probably next to the other isopods so that they have an easier time to find each other and to reproduce. Because if you put like a few over here and a few over there, they're going to be all spread out and they might not find each other. It might be harder for them to reproduce and colonize the entire. Under the bushy tree might be a good spot, like right up here. This is looking really fantastic. It's looking really great. Now the last thing we got to do is set up all of our electronics. So the lighting, the thermostat, the thermometer, hygrometer, and that'll really brighten everything up. We got plant lights that'll really brighten everything up and make it look even better. Let's do it. All right, so then we have a Arcadia Shade Dweller UVB bulb. I chose this percentage. It's quite a low percentage, but because the gecko that we have is a blizzard leopard gecko, and they don't have a lot of melanin in their skin, they're pretty much all white, and they can be more vulnerable to brighter lights or higher UV indexes. So you wanna take it easy. If you have a blizzard or an albino gecko, you wanna do a smaller percentage of UVB. So we got this bulb, and some people say that UVB isn't necessary, and some people say that it is. From the research I've done, I've learned that it can be helpful and it can be very beneficial. So why not add? You know. And it'll also help mimic natural sunlight, because this will help the gecko synthesize D3, and usually you get that from natural sunlight. But here we're in a room where you don't get natural sunlight. There's no windows pouring the light in. So the UVB bulb, I think, will be definitely beneficial. Then we have, as far as our heating, we have a 50 watt DP projector. DP projectors can be better than normal basking bulbs, normal halogens, because they help target like deep within the tissue. They warm up the tissue that's deep within the reptile and helps mimic a more natural environment. So we got this. Then of course you need a thermostat. With deep heat projectors, it's best to use a dimming thermostat, because rather than having it turn on and off and on and off and have it be super hot and then cool down and then super hot, that's how normal on-off thermostats work. A dimming thermostat just reduces the amount of power that goes into the bulb. So instead of the bulb being on full power and heating up to, let's say 90, and then turning off and cooling back down and then having to heat up again and turning off, it'll just reduce the power so it'll stay at 90 constantly. So we got our thermostat, and then finally we just got this clamp lamp to hold the bulb. So now we're gonna go set it all up. Here we go. All right, guys, so this is looking really, really fantastic. Plants really tie everything together. We got our plant grow light working. We got the UVB light working. Our heat lamp is working. The parameters are good. It's a bit humid in the tank right now, but that's just because it's very humid outside. We're going through a heat wave right now in Ambler, so it's just naturally humid in the room we're in. But this looks fantastic. As far as parameters as well, you're going to want a temperature. The basking spot should be between 88 to 91 Fahrenheit. The overall tank temperature should be between 75 to 80 Fahrenheit. And the cool end should get no lower than 70 during the day. And as far as humidity goes, you're going to want an overall tank humidity between 30 and 40%. So pretty low humidity, because remember, these guys are from the desert where it's very arid. Although you do want to provide a humid hide or a humid spot in the tank that is between 70 to 80%. This will help with shedding. So whenever the gecko is ready to shed, they can go to this humid hide and it'll help them shed. So now we're going to set up all the electronics. Here we go.
Where are the probes?
So we have one thermometer, hygrometer right here. It's on the cool side. And then we have a probe over here that is linked to the thermostat. So that's linked to a deep heat projector that you see up here, which is linked to a thermostat. So we tested out the thermostat. It's working in good order. We're going to turn it off for now because the gecko isn't in there. But you want to make sure that you test your thermostat out. Make sure that everything's working properly. And I would say leave it on for an entire day or a few days and check on it very frequently, intermittently over the day, like every few hours, to make sure that it doesn't spike up in temperature all of a sudden, or it drops in temperature. You want to make sure that your thermostat's working, because you don't want to burn your reptile. You don't want to make the tank incredibly hot. So that's super important. So over the next week, I'm going to come in here a few times and check on the thermostat, making sure that the basking spot doesn't get too hot. Because right now it's very hot, just in the room, because we're going through a heat wave. So you want to make sure that this basking spot doesn't get too hot. But it's working perfectly right now. The DP projector is sending down waves. It's heating up the rock, so if he wants to bask, he can come here, get some nice basking. But yeah, this looks fantastic. It looks incredible. We got our isopods crawling around. I think they found their hiding spots already. Probably put our springtails in. So now all that's left is we just gotta wait a week so that'll give time for the plants to root. That'll give time for the isopods and the springtails to reproduce, find their food sources, to find their hiding spots, and then all that's left is to introduce the leopard gecko. So I'm very excited to put the leopard gecko in here. And once you put the gecko in, you want to wait about a week and don't handle your reptile. Just let them settle in, let them find their hides, let them find the basking spot, let them find their food, because it's going to be stressful. It's a completely new environment, and especially because this gecko is going into a non-bioactive setup into a huge bioactive setup, so it will be quite a shift. So you're going to want to give them some time to adjust and adapt. But I'm really excited. This turned out better than I ever could have imagined. It's fantastic. The plants are vibrant. Everything's in working order. Yeah, so I'm really excited. Now we just gotta wait. So I'll see you in about a week. We just put the leopard gecko in, and now we're all done. This is really exciting. I think that this tank turned out incredibly. It looks so awesome. All the plants look great. The hardscape looks great. She was really happy to get in here. She was exploring. Now she's hiding in that little cave, but Now we can just give her some time to settle in, get to know the environment, but this is really exciting. Guys, I'm here about a year later after I built the Leopard Gecko Bioactive tank, and I just wanted to update you all on the maintenance that's required for a bioactive tank. Now, the upside of making a bioactive setup, is that it is partially self-sustaining. However, there is still some maintenance that is necessary. For example, this is a mini ecosystem, but it's contained within this box, within your tank. So every so often, you do need to replenish the nutrients and the organic material, and sometimes take out the old, decayed, nasty organic material. So what do I mean by this? Well, every month or every few months, you might need to replenish the mix-ins. For example, with this tank, the sphagnum moss or the palm fronds, just give in new, fresh, organic matter for the isopods to digest, right? So that they don't start attacking the plants or harming the tank, Additionally, you will have to do partial, hopefully not full, but partial soil changes intermittently. Now, it really depends on how fast your soil is degrading, but once you see it start to get a little nasty, maybe build up a little bit of a funky stench, you might want to take out some of that soil and replenish it with some new fresh substrate. Additionally, what I've learned after observing the tank for the past year is that I was worried about the plants being too small initially, but I realized small plants are a good thing, right? Start out with smaller plants because, shocker, I know, right? But plants grow. And I didn't see ahead enough, so the one aloe vera plant shot up and now it's massive. It just means more trimming back, or you gotta change out the plant. So don't worry about starting off with small plants because they will grow and they will eventually fill in the tank. Now I want to thank you for watching. I would like to thank Miss Fantini and Mrs. Marl for all their support and all their help and just allowing me to create this build. I love doing this. This is my passion. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I really hope that this video was able to help you and that you took something away, because the whole reason I made this tutorial was some 3-4 years ago when I made my first tank, my first bioactive terrarium for my crested gecko. I really wish that I had something like this. A long, in-depth tutorial that covers every step of the way. How do you make a successful bioactive vivarium? So I hope that you were able to learn a little bit in this long tutorial. But I'll see you in the next one. Get building.